Attention, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids. This is your Grand Admiral Arnold, and we're going to cut straight into it because, yes, the video is no lie. We're going to be talking about the top 130 teams for 3v3 Grand Arena, and we're going to go through every single faction except the Tuskens and Jawas to help get your thoughts flowing, because at the minimum, when you're playing at the top in Division 1, you're going to be needing at least 22 teams, 11 for defense and 11 for offense, and I want to give you guys as many ideas as possible to maximize whatever roster you guys might be playing with. Whoa! Gary, what's going on? A sponsor alert. A sponsor they've never, ever heard of before? Well, put him through. Introducing Raid Shadow Legends. That is right. They are once again sponsoring an episode here at the Comic Club. Put it on the screen, Gary. It's a turn-based hero RPG collector game. You guys have heard about it, probably at this point. And I didn't even get to the best part. It's totally free. But one thing you probably have not heard about since the last time I made a video on Raid Shadow Legends is that recently Raid became one of the top 3 ranked RPGs on the Google Play Store, and it's recently just been nominated as a finalist for the Google Play's Best of 2019 Users Choice Award, baby. There's always new content being pushed in Raid Shadow Legends on a monthly basis. Every month, new champions are being added. Over 16 new champions every single month, so there's always new strategies, new balance, new warriors to play with. As you see in my Imperial datapad here, there's a lot of missions for you to complete. And as you complete missions, you're going to get a bunch of resources. And at the end of it all, you're going to be getting a legendary character known as the Arbiter, who's going to provide a huge bang for your roster to master the game. So what are you waiting for? Go to the video description, click on the special links I provided, and if you are a new player, you will get 100,000 silver plus 2 clan boss keys, 3 ancient shards, and 1 free champion known as the Executioner. And all this treasure will be waiting for you right here. These rewards are only available for the next 30 days. I hope you guys enjoy the game. Good luck, and I'll see you there. We got no more time to lose. Let's hop into it. We're going to start off with the Galactic Republic faction. Just a quick thing to note, I'm going to be repeating some characters. Ideally, you can't be using the same character 2 times, but I'm going to be ranking the leaders from best to worst in every single one of these categories. The best leader goes on top, and as you go down, the leader gets less and less and less viable. So if you see a character repeated and you see it in a higher up team, most likely you're going to want to be putting things like that character up to the better leader if you want to get the better team. So we're going to start off with General Skywalker. The team that's not going to take away from other teams out there, Padme or Shakti or whatever, is going to be most likely this one. However, not a lot of people are going to be running ARC Trooper, still a pay-to-play exclusive character right now. The team that I think is going to be more accessible for people, because here you got double cleanses between Ahsoka as well as Captain Rex, and with Skywalker tanking and taking, counterattacking. Captain Rex is just waiting to get off an aerial advantage. Granted, not going to be as deadly because he doesn't have as many clones with him. These are going to be the teams I'd say be careful with in 3v3 Grand Arena, because we have not dealt with Skywalker in a 3v3 situation, and if you go up against a 7-star 7 relic Skywalker, he can solo a lot of teams out there by himself. Let's talk about Padme. The most ideal Padme lineup is going to be this one at the very top. Padme, Anakin, and Kenobi. Really, I would not advise going into the Padme lineup without having Jedi Knight Anakin. With that Zeta, he makes Padme so much better. Padme can quickly drop things like Death Mark, take bonus turns with Skywalker. But if you want to free up Kenobi for another Jedi team out there or another Galactic Republic lead of some sort, you can start throwing other things like Ahsoka Tano as well as C-3PO. Ahsoka's got the extra cleanse. She's going to be assisting a lot. So if Anakin gets stunned and Padme gets Ahsoka to assist, you're going to be able to cleanse up Anakin right away. So this is kind of a nice way of ensuring that Skywalker never, ever gets too many debuffs on him. So Shakti, although in a 5v5 situation, she's losing viability because Skywalker takes away all the clones from her. Luckily, in this situation, because Skywalker's only able to take 2 other clones with him, you have a lot of options for Shakti to come to life. And I think the ideal lineup, if you have a Skywalker lineup, you're going to want to have 5s and Echo left over for Shakti. That's definitely going to be the ideal situation. Lots of taunts, lots of protection regeneration, and 5s and Echo has their own synergy as well. But this is probably going to be another ideal lineup. Let's say you need to save Captain Rex for a separate clone team, as we're going to see here. You can just throw in Commander Cody and the Clone Sergeant, and boom, Shakti takes over the leftover characters. Yes, not as ideal. You maybe could throw in Barriss in place of, let's say, Cody. There's a lot of opportunities to make it happen. Let's say you don't want him in Skywalker or Shakti's lineup. You can create a whole other team with Captain Rex, especially because he has synergy with Ahsoka. That's going to work fantabulously. You could throw in things like Jedi Knight Anakin, but again, if you have Padme, you don't want to be using Jedi Knight Anakin here. You want to use it with the better lead, which is going to be up above. You can do a full 5-0 first team, Rex, Echo, and 5s, and then that situation, you can't take out Rex or Echo first. You have to go after 5. This is going to be kind of difficult to deal with. A lot of Terminator being fed to Captain Rex, and this team is going to get a quick aerial advantage. Now, I'm not going to talk too much detail about these last guys right here. You got a Kenobi lead, which mainly is a very durable team that's going to rely a lot on healing assists. A C-grade defensive team, and of course, you can do other things like Jedi Knight Anakin, and as well as the Commander Cody lead. But these three guys are kind of used for other teams out there. But if you don't have Padme and all that stuff, I want to give you some other ideas that you can play with. Since we finished up the Galactic Republic, let's talk about the separatists. Keep in mind, Newt Gunray has to die twice unless you have some sort of anti-revive mechanism. So he's going to trigger 2 Metalloid monstrosities. And if you have the Newt Gunray Zeta, which is why I'm putting this up here, you're going to be able to get a lot of health chipped away up between B2 and Grievous, spamming debuffs out on the field. And plus, Extortion comes with all of its other benefits as well. So this might be the tricky 3v3 team. I don't know if I'll 100% recommend this because Newt Gunray can create a bunch of other teams, but if you can't create a Newt Gunray team, this is probably a team you might want to look into. And of course, you got other Grievous things you can form here, ladies and gentlemen. You got Grievous with Magna Guard. Magna Guard, because of his rework that he got over the summer, a lot of Magna Guard opportunities to hide Grievous and the other character under stealth, forcing attacks on the Magna Guard, protecting things like Droideka and Grievous. Geonosians, we're gonna see how Geonosians work in 3v3. Last time at 3v3, Geonosians were not in the equation, if I recall, and you're gonna go in with 4 characters. Because the Geonosian Brute Alpha is a 2-for-1 special, this is going to be kind of tricky. 4 Geonosians coming on the field, and you need some damage output, and you're going to get a second taunt with Sun Fact. So this is going to be an incredibly difficult team to deal with, and I think this is going to be the ideal Geonosian team. If you don't have these Geonosians, you can work at some other stuff, but I think this is the one you really want to shoot for. A lot of fun stuff right here. We're kind of stealing from other factions, so keep in mind that you need to make sure you spread your leaders across as viably as possible. But if you can do some fun stuff, this is going to be your most offensive Newt Gunray team, with Dooku stun locking people with Extortion, so Extortion constantly gets spread and it can't be dealt with by the enemy. Jango Fett with the extra damage output. If you don't have a Geonosian team, but you have Geonosian Brute Alpha, bring in a 2-for-1 special. Get Dooku to hide everyone under stealth except the Geonosian Brute that the Geonosian Brute summons. Or you can do Wat Tambor, spread the tech over to Newt Gunray, for example. He prevents people from reviving that, and then you can give the other tech to the Geonosian Brute that's going to spawn, so he always gets a taunt. You can hide everyone under stealth, keep Nest out in the open, and that's going to be quite annoying to deal with. And then you got some other Count Dooku stuff. Count Dooku is probably the least viable separatist leader we have in the game, but things like this, you could have Dooku and Asajj. If you don't have a proper Night Sister team, you could spare a couple Night Sisters in this situation. Get Dooku to hide Asajj under stealth, forcing Zombie out in the open, and as long as Asajj is alive, the Night Sister Zombie should keep reviving over and over and over again, and it's a backup revive for Asajj Ventures. Kind of one of the more interesting Count Dooku lineups. Basically, the best droid team you're going to come up with is a very cheap Grievous nuke team. Grievous nukes are kind of annoying to deal with, and I'm going to give you a couple of options here. IG-88 is obviously the more preferred leader to use for the droids in a nuke situation. You got to make sure you have that T-3M4 and the 1 Zeta at the minimum on combat logic upgrade. The problem with those two teams is that there's no speed. It's a very slow team, and you're just waiting for a droid to get knocked out. But if you want to get out the gate really quickly, you might want to throw in BB-8. And the reason why I put BB-8 in the lead is if you're trying to maybe take out a Darth Revan team, you need to make sure Grievous is out of the leadership slot so he doesn't get feared, but instead BB-8 gets feared. Interesting scenario, you could put Grievous in the lead if you're not going up against Darth Revan, but this is going to adjust both your speed and your damage. And this right here, HK-47, if you want to spread him out, you could. He's got anti-Jedi things with his big ability on Assassination Protocol. You can do 100% more damage against Jedi. I've used him in 3v3s against Bastila Shan-led teams. That's how long ago this was, and it was quite viable, and you got some interesting things that were going on. Now, the bounty hunters, every single bounty hunter has a leader, but the two best leaders in the game are going to be Jango Fett and Bossk. And if you're trying to figure out what's the best way to allocate teams for both of these leaders without having to put Bossk and Jango in the same team, I'm going to say this right here. It's got just massive damage out here. With that Jango Fett lead, you're going to get as much speed and debuffs as possible. And then you have Bossk, which is kind of, it's a more tanky team that requires a lot of debuffs to be applied to keep the protection up and running. So that's where we're going to want to have Dengar and Boba Fett. But of course, there's a lot of other things you could be doing in here. Bounty hunters, they kind of have a lot of mashy things. Really, the only lead that's not really viable in PvP things is going to be Aura Singh. But other than that, I mean, I'm just kind of giving you a couple quick examples right here. This, I think, is going to be your best 3v3 offensive first order team right up here. I've shown you this strategy many times between Hux and the first order officer. They have this cool party trick to keep passing Terminator to one another, and because the first order officer can provide offense up, you can pass that offense up over to the Sith Trooper and let him get an attack. Use his big AoE. He's going to do massive damage. These three alone can take out a full entire Geonosian team. Full Geonosian team, not 3v3 Geonosian team. So I think this is going to be a big bang for your buck. And of course, when first order characters are being knocked out, you're gonna get some big damage. If you're trying to find ways to not pull first order officer and you don't have Sith Trooper, you could do things like this. I think Hux is gonna work very well with the TIE Pods because they have great basic attack damage, especially TIE Pilot right here. The best Kylo Ren team I think is gonna be probably your Kylo Ren Unmasked, Panda, and your First Order Stormtrooper right here. You can throw in the Sith Trooper. It's kind of, this is the game of protecting the Sith Trooper. Let these guys tank as long as possible, letting Sith Trooper survive as long as possible, constantly spam as many AoEs out there, and he's got a cleanse. And then Captain Phasma is probably going to be your least viable leader. Since there's now 10 first order characters in the game, you can easily form 3 first order teams. Do a Hux team, Kylo Ren team, and Captain Phasma. Resistance! I think this is going to be your most ideal resistance lineup. So many exposes, which is going to help Jedi Training Rey just do all of her work because her team revolves around exposes, Terminator removal, assists, and whatnot. And here you're going to get a lot of assists and all that. But if you're using C-3PO for another Rebellion team or a Scandroid team or some Galactic Republic team like Padme, you can use R2D2. These two are definitely going to be your most ideal Jedi Training Rey teams, but C-3PO and R2D2, they could be so many other places, and I think at the minimum, these are going to be the teams that you can use that's going to take away the least from other teams out there. Resistance, this is basically a mini Sith Rey team you got going on here. You can still form some other teams around it that don't take away from Jedi Training Rey and other teams out there, and of course, you got Poe as well for the extra offense. Poe lead might actually be better than Finn lead, especially if you don't have the Zeta to try to get a couple big punches, but really, your best teams are going to be somewhere up here for Resistance. The Empire! A lot of interesting stuff here, and I'm not going to integrate the General Sith just yet. The best lead for obviously for the Empire is going to be Emperor Palpatine, and definitely the best team with Emperor Palpatine is going to be Palpatine, Vader, Thrawn. You got the control, you got the speed, you got the damage, and of course you got Thrawn for whatever the heck you got to do out there. But if you need to save Thrawn, throwing things like Probe Droid or TIE Pods going to be great for buff control. You can throw things like Short Trooper, maybe Stormtrooper. Stormtrooper's not amazing. Royal Guard, and of course here are the Thrawn teams. Thrawn's going to be your second best Imperial leader in the game, and this is definitely going to be just an annoying defensive team. It's not going to be doing anything crazy, but if people are trying to bring in like a 3v3 rebel team that's not Commander Luke, this is going to time them out. Between all the protection, regeneration, and speed going on, there's some other things out here. This is going to be great. This is actually a sleeper team right here. Magna Trooper with Thrawn. If you're bringing a debuff heavy team, be careful because this character is going to keep getting Terminator and keep throwing AoE, and constantly moving Terminator. Imperial Troopers, unfortunately, they're not going to be crazy in 3v3. Actually, all these teams are not going to be the most, I'm not going to talk too much about them because you're not going to get anything too important done, but you can take maybe some things out, like some Wedge teams, maybe some Phoenix teams out there. Talked about the Empire, let's talk about these rebels right here, and Commander Luke, a very best rebel team out there, and this is going to be the best rebel team to be running the click with. But of course, if you don't have Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2D2, you have some other options you could be running here. This is going to be a very basic Commander Luke team, but it'll get work done. You need these characters to get Commander Luke anyway, so don't tell me you don't have R2D2 and Old Ben, but you got Commander Luke. Old Ben dies, gives a lot of buffs. Ahsoka Tano could do a whirlwind, for example. Phoenix team, this is probably the ideal Phoenix team to be shooting for is Hera, Kanan, and Ezra, but if you need to use Ezra for a better Jedi team, you can throw things like Chopper in here. Again, you're not going to get too much out of Phoenix in a 3v3 scenario, at the end game at least, but if you want to get a good Phoenix team, this is probably the one to shoot for. You got your Rogue One team, Chirrut and Baze, make sure they're always together, and you can do whatever Rebel lead you want. I mean, I'm just kind of ranking the Rebel leaders in order. Offensive heavy teams right here. This is if you're going to use your Wedge and Big, get the speed going of Stormtrooper Han, smash them with AoEs and big damage. This is a very Terminator heavy team between critical hits and Stormtrooper Han, but you're not going to get too much out of them. But as you see, as you go down the list, you're not going to get too many incredible rebel things. These guys are probably going to be cleanup crews if you need them, but if you're playing in lower divisions, you can definitely get some use out of these lower end rebel teams right here. Jedi has so much going on. I can't talk too extensively about them right now. Jedi Knight Revan's going to be your best Jedi lead, of course, and depending on what you want. If you want the extra survivability, stick to this. If you want the more offense, you go with this right here. If you want more offense, you bring in Hermit Yoda for the Grandmaster's training on these two guys. Really, the most no-brainer Jedi teams are going to be right here. But if you don't have Jedi Knight Revan, or you want to split up the crew a little bit, you can throw in some other Jedi, maybe take out Yoda. I think Yoda's going to be better with Jedi Knight Revan. Then you can do other things with Bastila Shan. But let's say you don't like your Jedi Knight Revan lead against Grievous, you can do Bastila Shan. Like, again, So many Jedi things you could do in here. You could start tossing things like Old Ben, Ezra. You could take out Yoda and do Bastila, Old Ben, and Ezra. A lot of options here. I can't talk extensive about all of them. I'm just kind of scrolling down to kind of get the thoughts flowing for you guys. We already talked briefly about Kenobi lead, but this is another Jedi team to consider. Qui-Gon lead, and you got the Jedi Anakin lead. Jedi Anakin you can use with both Jedi and clones, and just in general, he provides a lot of extra offense out there. So just getting the thoughts flowing. But where there's light, there is dark to meet it. Yay, Sith! Darth Revan, we don't gotta talk too much about him. Obviously, this is gonna be your best Sith Empire team right here, but Bastila Shan's kind of needed for other Sith potential. If you want to make the most out of your roster, you have a lot of Sith, maybe do things like HK-47 with these guys right here. Still pretty darn good team, but Bastila will be the superior 3v3 lineup to go with. Scrolling down, you could, if you don't have Darth Malik, you could do things like Sith Trooper, Sith Assassin, Sith Marauder, and then of course Darth Trey, your second best Sith team in the game. This is going to be the ideal trio. It takes a lot. Traya takes out a lot of 3v3 teams out there. If you're trying to save Nihilus, maybe a Palpatine lineup, you can throw in Sith Trooper. This might be your ideal situation. Deal with those Geo teams. Geo teams are going to be quite annoying again in 3v3 scenarios because it's going to be 4v3. Palpatine, we already talked a bit about Palpatine, but as you see, there's some other Sith opportunities here. Keeping Palpatine and Vader together. Don't break them up if you don't have to. Doing things like Bastila Shan will spam a lot of debuffs, therefore giving a lot of Terminator to Emperor Palpatine. You have the backup with Sith Trooper in case Palpatine or Vader falls. You're going to get punched in the face hard. A lot of opportunities here. You could do Count Dooku to make sure you're getting more debuffs and stuns and shocks out there. A lot of shock synergy between Dooku and Palpatine. This is another team right here that might be able to help deal with Geonosians. If you're running out of First Order teams that don't have Hux and whatever, you could throw Sith Trooper with Vader between the Terminator removal and the big offensive damage and the damage over time's going on. This might help you deal with Geonosians as well. So Vader, don't sleep on it. If you can use him, team, it will take away from Palpatine, but Palpatine will be fine. He can find other Sith to play around with. And then you got Darth Maul, things against Sith Trooper. Sith Trooper is going to make a lot of bad teams good because of his massive AoE damage. And then, of course, another Darth Sidious nuke team right here. Let everyone die, and then just let Sith Trooper hopefully get a couple big kills for you. We're going to quickly talk about Ewoks. Ewoks are probably just going to become nest meat. You're going to be able to easily get your Ewok jerky through Nest. Ewoks really rely on a full team. Not going to talk too extensively about it, but be careful of Ewoks with C-3PO. That could be your biggest Ewok team to challenge with, and this is going to stop Nest from really helping out too much because of how C-3PO slows down Nest and ensures that you're trying to get some buffs to protect your team out there and all the assists, yada, yada, yada. Scoundrels, scoundrels, scoundrels. I mean, this is another team that just has so many weird stuff going on. Obviously, you really don't want to break up Mission and Zalbar too much. Using it with either you could do Kira lead or Karth. Though you want to be careful not to break up these two because these two are quite annoying. This is a team that I'm not going to talk too much about. Kira lead is not really amazing with the other Han Solo characters out there, but then you get things like Canderous right here, which are probably going to get broken up from Karth, but you could maybe still find ways of using Canderous with Kira to make sure he's getting as much basic damage out there as possible. And this is just a really dirty team. Nest getting extra defense from Clone Wars Chewbacca, and then you're going to get Vandor Chewbacca to make sure he protects Nest in case she gets taken out too early. You can get a revive there, or he can revive the Clone Wars Chewbacca more. Really, these two characters aren't going to be too hard to deal with, but they're just going to be annoying trying to focus down on Nest. The Night Sisters. Night Sisters are another one of those teams that really just need to be all together, but of course, in 3v3 you can't, but luckily you got two Night Sister leads. You got a Mother Talzin lead and an Asajj lead, and if you had to break them up, this might be the way to go about it if you're trying to make the most out of two full teams. But if you don't mind putting some Night Sisters that are important together, you can start doing better things like Mother Talzin with Asajj, Asajj with Mother Talzin. Really, both leads have their benefits in Grand Arena. Mother Talzin might have the slighter edge in terms of the 3v3 aspect. The Plagues are going to help out a lot because really when all the Night Sisters aren't together, they're losing out on a ton of viability. And if you've been counting so far, we're only at 129 teams. What is the 130th team? Nest. Nest is her own team. Do not sleep on Nest. She can take out a lot of teams on offense in 3v3. But of course, Nest, as you saw, you can use her as separatists, scoundrels, bounty hunters, a lot of ways to take advantage of Nest. But Nest herself is her own team. Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, we had the rapid fire through all that right there. Hopefully, this video is going to be helpful for you guys to master 3v3 Grand Arena. It's been a long time. Whether you like it or not, 3v3 is back here. We have a lot to learn. The game has changed a ton since the last time 3v3 was here. So hopefully this video gets your thoughts flowing. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, like, comment, subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And I'll see all you lovely people in the next video. Peace out, everyone.